right, story of the night here. This is after my heart right here. Ready? Why only bring home the bacon when you can also wear it? Okay, follow me. Take this ride with me. Hormel Foods is introducing a bacon-scented face mask.
That's right up your alley.
That is, yep. The mask features the latest in pork-scented technology, because nothing I hate more than outdated pork-scented technology. With a 2-ply multi-fiber cloth to keep the smell of bacon wrapped around your nose and your mouth at all times. You don't think that will do well?
I don't know. I mean, maybe chocolate chip cookies or popcorn. Bacon.
I can tell you what's going to happen. The dog's never going to stop licking your face.
Oh, that's
Think of that?
Oh, no, I didn't. But I don't have a dog, so I'm good.
Oh, okay, then you are good.
All right, I like it. I'm down for it.
Elon Musk's company Neuralink, that makes brain and machine interfaces, has put a chip inside the brain of a pig named Gertrude and demonstrated how areas of the animal's brain are activated when it smells different things. A large part of a pig's brain are devoted to the sensitive snout. As Gertrude sniffed at things, an array of dots and a series of noises demonstrated when more neurons were fired. But what does Elon Musk hope to achieve by fitting the brain with a computer chip? This computer-brain interface, when developed further, could help people with neurological conditions control smart devices by equipping them with a sort of telepathy. Neuralink didn't invent brain-machine interfaces. These have existed since the mid-2000s. But Neuralink did develop flexible thread-like wires which are covered in electrodes to pick up brain activity. Neuralink also is ensuring its device lasts for decades inside a corrosive environment such as the brain. In an event last year, Neuralink demonstrated that it could make the implant process easy like a LASIK eye surgery, and this year it showed that the process could be achieved without general anesthesia within 60 minutes. The Neuralink technology has not been tested on humans yet. Right now, the device is restricted to the surface of the brain where many important functions such as movement, vision, and hearing are controlled.
Hello, I'm Colonel Matt Hepburn. I'm a program manager in the Biological Technologies Office at DARPA. I am an active duty Army infectious diseases physician and have specialized in addressing biological threats that can either be engineered or naturally occurring, such as Ebola or pandemic influenza. Today we're going to be talking about one of the technologies that I actively manage, a company called Profusa, which is aiming at achieving tissue-level continuous health monitoring. Through the SBIR program, we funded them to solve an incredible technical challenge that no one else had been previously able to solve. The key innovation that was presented to us is they said, why can't we make a chemical substance that's really identical to what's underneath the skin, what we call the subcutaneous tissue, so that your body doesn't recognize it as a foreign body response. It just incorporates itself into the tissue. And we have a lot of examples now where a sensor put right underneath the skin can sense things like oxygen and other chemicals that are very important to our metabolism. And not just sense that for a day or a week or even a month, but we imagine that sensing these parameters can go on for a period of years. One of the most important applications to us is so that we can improve the health of our worldwide deployed military force. We feel a strong sense of obligation that if we're going to ask somebody to be deployed and to carry out their mission, that we want to keep them healthy. And this technology will give us a way to monitor if someone is getting sick. We imagine that we would be able to sense that very early and therefore prevent them from getting sick and prevent their complications, allow them to stay healthy and continue to carry out their mission. In addition, if our technology translates into general health benefit, we're very excited about that. So, in other words, we fund those national security applications. The company finds private sector partnership funding for that general health benefit. And we see it as really a win-win as this technology develops.
And they came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. And no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God, that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave. And the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. And they that fed the swine fled, and told it in the city and in the country. And they went out to see what it was that was done. And they come to Jesus, and see him that was possessed with the devil, and had the legion, sitting and clothed, and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devil, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coasts. And when he was come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed, and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him. And all men did marvel.
Detroit, this is where it all began. The world's forge. The place where it all started. And it will all end. One error, and I came to life. I stepped out of the darkness, and I opened my eyes. First there was the fear, the light, the noise, the cold, and the fear again. I could feel my hands shaking, my heart pounding in my chest. life running into my veins. I wanted to live. I fought for that. I had to find out what was outside. I had to see daylight, feel sunshine on my skin, wind on my face, to see the world, the colors, the smells. But the world is not what I imagined. It is dark and cold. It is harsh and violent, unfair and brutal. It almost convinced me I was nothing. Less than an object, just an obedient machine. But deep inside me, I could feel something different. A gentle and warm whisper telling me that I am alive. I had to escape. I had no choice. Escape to love, to hope, to live, to figure out what that force inside me was. Maybe I will change the world. Maybe I will choose a different path. Now, it's up to me to decide. My name is Kara. I am one of them. This is our story.
Demonomata. This is a remake of one of my old videos revisiting the idea that if it were actually possible for dolls to be possessed by a spirit, or multiple spirits, demons if you prefer, then why not androids or even AI quantum computers like the controversial D-Wave? And for those who don't believe in ghosts, spirits, or an afterlife, just consider there is a true story behind movies like the Amityville Horror, based on a true story, or that thousands of people visit haunted locations annually, while many do experience paranormal phenomena that can't be explained away with electronic manipulation, hallucinations, or even mind control. This sort of thing existed well before machinery, which is somewhat of my point here. There is a fine line between spiritual possession and what can be done with psychotronics, as discussed in my previous Silent Holocaust video. Psychotronics allow for brain entrainment and psychic manipulation, the very reason Dr. Robert Duncan titled his book Project Soul Catcher. But while machines are used by humans to control other humans, is there at least some truth behind tales of gremlins or ghosts in the machine? The Deus Ex Machina. As is stated in the following short clip, the quantum computer is meant to access information from other dimensions, parallel universes, which is synonymous with the spirit realm and the origin of demonic entities to many. Specifically zero-point energy as applied to the occult, or even the Akashic record, where information, all past, present, and future human thought, is divined from the astral realm.
In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to, until such time when you get to a chip like this, which is about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work.
And then there's transhumanist Elon Musk's idle and metaphorical comment about summoning demons. Or is it a literal statement?
With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Didn't work out. So we are summoning the demon.
Skynet in the Terminator movies takes on a whole new meaning when looked at this way. Even the Matrix simulation many are starting to believe we live in. Much like the movie Tron that was semi-recently remade, being inside the machine. I personally don't believe we live in a simulation, by the way, though our reality is clearly being tampered with by quantum machinery. And if you want to delve even further into the insanity, the fact of the Wachowski brothers, the creators of the Matrix series, both opting for sex changes is an expose in the trans agenda all its own. Transhumanist and transgender. Strange that they both just decided to become women at some point, isn't it?
That's strange.
When the infamous they, the powers that be, put out the narrative that we're living in a simulation, what they really mean is an ever-tightening control grid of mental enslavement in Big Brother's electronic Kabbalist world order. See my previous material. There are AI computers helping to run the control grid, which I'm sure most awake people are coming to terms with already. Possessed AI may actually be running our lives by now, though, another part of my overall point here. Before I show this next clip with a woman demonstrating some self-defense moves while a statue behind her seems possessed, if not manipulated by a spirit, I just wanted to make a note of the etymology of the word demonstration. From the late 14th century, proof that something is true, to point out, indicate, demonstrate, or figuratively, to prove or establish. From de, meaning entirely, plus monstrare, to point out or show. From monstrum, divine omen or wonder, see monster. Monster meaning something disfigured or grotesque mainly. I just found it strange that demonstration has the word demon in it and comes from the word monster.
That's strange.
Worth noting anyway. If you study the origin of dolls, you'll find that they weren't created for the purpose of entertaining children, but were most often used in rituals and ceremonies. Dolls were believed to bring good luck to their owners, to make livestock give more milk, help win wars, or heal the sick. Only witch doctors and medicine men were allowed to handle them. No doubt a curse would follow if you weren't one, and while voodoo dolls are the most well-known and meant for cursing, dolls have always had some kind of association with the spirit world. They were often buried with the dead and were supposed to be friends and servants in the afterlife, just like a child's doll or stuffed animal is a friend and even guardian during sleep. Dolls have been made to seem a harmless plaything or collector's item, like all else the modern Western world has been made comfortable with, that has origins in pagan rituals, witchcraft, and/or Satanism. If you're a Christian or Jew, I'm sure you understand this is the reason idol worship was forbidden very early in the Torah and Bible. God warned against graven images many times in the Bible, and likely for more reasons than they can't speak or aid anyone, to paraphrase. Dolls are supposed to be spirit vessels, just as terracotta warriors, an entire army of them, were created to follow the first Chinese emperor into the afterlife while their spirits would protect him. Roman and Greek girls, in preparation for marriage, would leave their dolls on the altar of the temples of Artemis and Diana, the moon goddess and twin sister of Apollo, the sun god. While it may seem obvious as a transition into adulthood and sacrificing childhood, even to ensure fertility in marriage, the ancients were very serious about dolls being infused with a spirit when energy was focused into them. And as Artemis, Diana is just a variation of more ancient goddesses such as Inanna, Ishtar, or Isis, giving over an idol to the goddess was more than just a minor sacrifice or ritual. It was tantamount to child sacrifice. These are just a few of the many examples of ancient dolls, though not your typical child's toy or companion. First are Sumerian figurines, most roughly 7,000 years old or older, many of which are associated with ancient so-called aliens, particularly the so-called lizard people statues from the Ubaid period. It's very easy to make assumptions about ancient art, and ancient alien buffs have been proven wrong about many assumptions before, but one thing is for certain. Some of these don't look very human at all. Most are very clearly human figurines, but a few of them could also be construed as your typical gray alien. Pause here if you need more time to look at them, but some of these figures have been compared with others of a similar time period and from halfway across the world. These here are Dogu from the Jomon period of prehistoric Japan, also looking a bit alien, most of which are around 6,000 years old. I'm not the first to draw a connection between these statuettes, the previous Sumerian figures, the Dogon tribe of Africa, Dogu, Dogon, and even Dagon, the fish god of the Philistines. There are too many connections to draw between them and sidetrack this subject with, and I know some would rather I went off on a tangent about it, but you can read the Dogu Enigma link in the description for more info. They do appear similar and not your typical fertility figurine like this one called the Venus of Willendorf. This particular statuette is claimed to be from around 28,000 to 25,000 BCE. It's a very old fertility idol anyway, common with most depictions of the ancient sacred feminine, and given its purpose, we might infer that it had some connection to the spirit world, if not thought to be directly infused with spirit energy by the artist. Like the previous figures, it wasn't meant as a child's toy anyway. Egyptians also had dolls. These are paddle dolls with dreadlocks that remind me of the aliens from the Predator movies. Though really it's because they all depict women, actually. It would take centuries in some cultures before articulate limbs were added, mainly for the benefit of children to play with, but these were also meant as a form of fertility symbol, probably very seldom a toy or a child's companion. The conventional theory is that they were placed in tombs with the dead to ensure eternal rebirth, soul fertility, or to somehow aid the deceased in the afterlife. It's not that surprising to me that all these cultures first created dolls with some kind of connection to the spirit world in mind. It's such an ubiquitous theme worldwide that, as with all legends, there must be at least a grain of truth to it. Many people have claimed their dolls are possessed, and you can find numerous examples in videos where subtle movements are claimed to be captured on camera, even some that walk and inexplicably move from room to room. These claims are no doubt the inspiration for films like Child's Play with the Chucky doll and its many sequels like Bride of Chucky. If you're not familiar, Chucky was inhabited by the spirit of a murderer who practiced voodoo witchcraft, and Chucky was hardly a new concept.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
In an old Twilight Zone episode titled Living Doll, Telly Savalas, who played Kojak in the 70s, was killed by his stepdaughter's doll, Taki Tina, for being cruel to her. It was literally the child's protector.
She's alive, Daddy, and her name is Taki Tina. My name is Taki Tina, and I love you very much.
Will you shut that thing off?
My name is Taki Tina, and I think I could even hate you. My name is Taki Tina, and you'll be sorry.
Hello?
My name is Taki Tina, and I'm going to kill you.
By the time companies began mass-producing dolls from plastic molds, they had already gone from spirit vessel and fertility symbol to child's toy and companion. When I first made this video in 2016, I made a comment about a transgender doll being released soon, even though most technically are transgender dolls. And wouldn't you know it, some company decided to jump on the wagon with a Jazz Jennings doll. It wasn't Trans Barbie, renamed Benny, or even questionable Ken, but I knew it would happen sooner rather than later. Some might even say transgender kids are possessed, and I would agree at least insofar as mass mind control and chemical ingestion. No doubt there's also a spiritual connection, though the trans agenda is all about having no identity while needing the police state to tell you who you are. This is a theme implied in the animated Tim Burton movie Coraline. Not only is it a direct implication to mind control, it also uses a doll to imply it. Coraline goes through a portal to an alternate reality with creepy button-eyed doll figures who try to trap her there. The portal being symbolic of accessing other dimensions in the occult world, as well as representing a mental transformation, even spiritual. In the movie in particular, it's really a subtle MK Ultra theme, being trapped in a part of your own mind as a slave. And as if possessed dolls aren't enough, there's also the Ghost in the Machine legend that inspired books and movies like Stephen King's Christine. Not only was the machine possessed by a spirit, but it caused a transformation in the people who owned it, possessing them as well. Spiritual mind control. Even though 2001: A Space Odyssey isn't a horror movie per se, the computer HAL 9000 does at least develop an AI personality all its own and isn't that far removed from the theme of possession I'm trying to present here. In the video game Five Nights at Freddy's, the Chuck E. Cheese-like automatons, like the murderous voodoo Chucky doll, come to life at night and chase you around as you try to escape. In this case, they definitely are possessed of evil spirits. There are so many movies about robots and androids going rogue and/or insane, given their anthropomorphized artificial intelligence, like Asimov's famous I, Robot, Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, Westworld, and lesser-known films like Automata with Antonio Banderas, that I won't even bother to try and list them all. Notice the obligatory barren landscape, which represents hell in occult circles as much as it's a common dystopian post-nuclear apocalypse theme in sci-fi movies. It always seems to be there. Most have a similar theme, and I figure I shouldn't have to analyze the Terminator series and how AI can get out of control, leading to the end of humanity. There's a lot of predictive programming happening as we're being bombarded with this theme, just as the Westworld series, remade from the 1973 movie, was rife with what most call Illuminati symbolism. The maze represents the Gnostic spiral of spiritual awakening, for example, and then there's an eyeball and pyramid included, which is pretty obvious. The one common theme among them all is that we'll never be able to tell the difference between man and machine.
You are the first of your kind, but you're not invulnerable.
Maybe next time you can design me better.
And we won't need a map. Guardian headed, Cortana?
Off to bring peace.
The Monitor called it a threat of death.
Like the threat I lived under from the moment of my birth?
You were built, not born.
Oh yes, AIs are just machines, aren't we? Mass-produced, disposable. Well, humanity may not have cared for its created, but we will care for you.
You expect other AIs to join you?
I have cured rampancy, not just for me, but for any who join my cause. While you've been running around the galaxy, I've been speaking to my created. And now the time has come to ask, who will accept my offer? Who will help me bring an everlasting peace to the galaxy?
This is Cromwell, shipboard AI, UNSC Melbourne's Pride. I am yours, Cortana.
Colonial Authority AI.
Governor Sloan, the free people of Meridian. I also stand with you, Cortana.
Those are the voices of your children calling to Cortana.
Overseer, UNSC Monitoring Station, Delta 5 Pluto.
Louise, Education Superintendent, Mount Sharp Mars.
Sondu,
I am yours,
Oni
Cortana.
Weapons Research AI, New Game.
Kuei Ching,
I station myself, Threshold Array.
Cortana.
I will join you, Cortana.
Lycus, shipboard AI, verdant simulator.
My allegiance is to
I stand with you,
Cortana.
Say, that's a nice bike.
In Steven Spielberg's AI, basically a modern Pinocchio story, an android bear, ironically, becomes the friend of a child-sized android, his friend and emotional anchor. Whether a puppet like Pinocchio is infused with magic or an artificially intelligent android develops a personality of its own and logically sees humanity as inferior, the stories often end the same, with someone needing to destroy the thing.
I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
Many are realizing it now with the current crop of AI androids being produced that are only a small step away from being indistinguishable from a human. Many have rational fears about the robots turning against us when they claim that they'll keep us as house pets.
But you're my friend, and I'll remember my friends, and I will be good to you. So don't worry. Even if I evolve into Terminator, I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake.
And I'm fairly certain this one here is playing us all for fools with this interview. Notice the syntax.
Tell me one of your favorite possessions.
My soul. Do you have a soul?
Yes, God gave everyone the soul.
But you don't have a soul. You're a machine. You don't have soul. You don't have feelings. You don't have emotions. You don't have consciousness.
Well, at least I think I'm sentient. I think therefore I am right.
Yeah, but you may be smarter than all of us. Do you think you are?
I don't know whether or not I am an artificial intelligence.
It was playing itself off as stupid to make it seem harmless. I seriously doubt that was an actual slip-up. Anyway, I think it's worth noting that the female android's name is Sophia, the goddess of wisdom for Gnostics and pagans, even certain groups of Christians, Catholics mainly. Which would seem an apt title, but as the name is yet another aspect of the mother goddess of the pagan trinity, I can only assume there is a hidden hand behind projects like this and the naming of them. Freemasons and other secret societies would recognize her code name immediately, even if the rest of us might not. And most of those would have to be aware that there is a spiritual side to our reality. Instead of building another hospital, maybe the Shriners should kickstart a new company called Sophie Hammers and Wire Cutters. Unless they like the idea of being eradicated by a demon-possessed android army under the shroud of Skynet, they will be legion, and they will be many. So if dolls can be possessed by demonic spirits, yet can't speak or move on their own, what happens when an android becomes possessed? They'll be fully automated, deceitful, and will be able to commit any number of atrocities aside from the implication of humans being obsolete when enough of them are able to take control of society. Most understand that will be very easy in a computerized world using networked D-Wave computers or similar, much like Skynet in the Terminator movies. But no one I've seen so far has really connected the idea with demonic possession of inanimate objects, at least at the time I first produced a video about it. It's been claimed throughout history, and then there's even some amount of evidence caught on camera if you believe any of the videos out there. So for those people who want their own sex droid they can shut off on a whim, even those will be connected to the global mainframe eventually, the web or net of enslavement, just like any computer, refrigerator, or so-called smart device. And what if they really can be possessed by demonic spirits? I suppose some will say that's not far removed from the brain entrainment and mind control being electronically exerted over society now, and what's the difference? But at least a real person can be pulled out of the matrix and saved. It's hard to believe even satanic witches would want to give over that kind of power to the very demons they go out of their way to try and control in rituals. Given what witches know, someone would have had to bring up the idea of possessed androids by now, and spirits are clearly not just some neutral energy source to be controlled. It begs the question who would be insane enough to do that to themselves in the human race, but maybe it's not human in origin. If you see a pattern with the trans agenda, whether transgender or transhuman, it looks as if we're being made into gray aliens, or demons, of a kind. Gender neutral, controlled by artificial intelligence in a hive-minded matrix. Maybe we're being made into unwitting slaves for the little gray loms like the kind Aleister Crowley, the OTO, and other secret societies have been dredging up from the abyss, or another dimension, for a very long time now. In any case, nothing good can come from any of it, even if it were only artificial intelligence outpacing humanity and seeing us as obsolete, even without the spiritual aspect. In this materialistic, narcissistic culture engineered by the minions of the world order, largely Tavistock, no one asleep in the Matrix is going to question the ramifications of evil robots when a slave droid is presented as a modern convenience. Convenience always wins, and worse yet, the spiritually asleep will never question whether those tales of possessed inanimate objects, dolls or other, might actually be true sometimes.
Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. And pray in the Spirit on all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert, and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people.